Weather patterns have been extremely interesting and unusual this year. For us, we are still ending up our fiscal year. Our fiscal year goes from the beginning of February all the way through January. We have seen tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, snow, and some unusual patterns that we have experienced probably over the last 48 hours. In this one, it was massive in terms of the entire state. It covered all of the major cities. ERCOT in itself as a system covers 90% of the state, and this system covered everything from North Texas down to the coast. And it was intense freezing temperature, initially coupled with rain. That rain made in isolated areas, but strategically caused icing over a large portion of the state of Texas. And so it was a challenge. That said, I also want our citizens, our customers of San Antonio that we value so much to understand that we have been on it. We have been monitoring, working locally, making sure that all of our essential personnel have been there with you from beginning to end. We have staffed phone lines, we have had advisors, we have had great service levels from those perspectives, and we have had our people, our great team members out in the field restoring power to try to make it as seamless as possible. But it has been something that we've had to monitor locally, and we've had to also monitor across the state. Because we are connected to a massive grid, the grid itself, we look at every major operator and provider of power, and everyone puts in as much power from their generation as they can. But of course, when the weather is extreme, that means there is more demand for power. And there is a possibility, when you look at the entire state, that there could be more demand than there is power available. So what we really had was we had intense high levels of power that almost started to mirror the peaks that we experience in summer. In the summertime, that's when, of course, we get the over 100-degree temperatures. This we had across the state in the 20s and the teens. And so we began to see those stresses and those activities. We are coming out of it. And we believe that we have hit the peak for the state and for San Antonio today. And we think progressively during the day things will get better. The big difference for today is that we still have and ask for conservation efforts from our customers. We've asked people to really try to still control, not turning on all their lights. The staggered start times across the business community have been extremely helpful. We even asked our employees not to start until 11:30. We wanted to make sure that we were not creating extra drag on the systems. And so it is better when we have staggered start times. It's better when we don't have traffic congestion. Traffic congestion actually affects us because it's hard for us to get to the work to do the restoration and many other connected activities. So we have worked really well as a community, and we have, punning a phrase, weathered the storm, and been able to make the contacts back out to our partners, our owner of the City of San Antonio, the mayor, the city manager, judge, and members all across the city. We've really been able to also explain to them in person with phone calls and face-to-face meetings to make sure that all of their questions were answered. So it's been an interesting development for the last 48 hours, but we are really, really pleased with the partnership here and how great everyone has worked together. And again, from every one of our 3,000 employees who have been focused on this, I want to thank all customers, all citizens of San Antonio. We have a great community here.
Can you talk about that demand? How high was that demand when we talked about looking at usage over the past 48, 72 hours?
So ERCOT was probably peaking in total maybe in the 64,000 megawatt level, which again, the capacity, gets to a level around 70,000 plus. So it got to high levels. for here in San Antonio, we typically peak in the summer right below 5,000, and we were probably in the mid 4,500 level. So it is intense. What also happens is, like if you go to the north, right? They are really prepared for cold weather all the time, and that's what they focus on. We are always prepared for hot weather. We have our summer peak runs from June all the way to probably about the end of September, and so we are making sure that every plant in our system, and just about every operator is making sure that every plant in their system is operational functional. But then we use typically the colder months, not this cold, to do our maintenance. And so we did have one plant down for regular planned maintenance, but to find that in more pockets throughout the system, the entire state of ERCOT. So it does get to be even more interesting because you actually have really less available capacity because of that maintenance. So even a peak that doesn't get all the way to the top is still a significant peak.
Did the state hit a Did the state hit a usage record in the last 48 hours, and did San Antonio hit a usage record in the last 48 hours?
For the reasons I just stated, they didn't hit a record overall. The summer is still our massive peak, but for a winter peak, I don't know if it's official, but it is pretty much looking like they hit a winter peak.
For the state?
For the state.
Now, CPS locally, did they hit a record for winter peak as well?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, since you're concerned about capacity, how worried are you that phasing out dealing might cut into the capacity you have for these peak events like today?
Well, not having that capacity is a big deal, but we have planned it before because we put the Rio capacity. We bought that plant. That's the plant that is in Seguin, but it's connected to our system. So we basically have replacement power to cover it. We have a way to work through it. We will have the daily units for most of 2018, and we do see from a broad ERCOT standpoint there will be some more units coming online. So it gets tighter, but we think that we have a good plan to get through it, and then we'll keep monitoring to see what other adjustments we make. We have added small unit boxes, what we call peaking units, and we have the ability to bring those online. That helps us as well to be able to respond quickly. So we have some options in front of us as well.
Do you predict gradual outages? Like, are you guys going to do those gradual outages, those blackouts to kind of conserve, or do you not see that in the future, the brownouts?
So what happens when as I mentioned, if we have more capacity, and this is really typically driven from when ERCOT looks at it from the state. If we have more demand than we have capacity, then it is a statewide ask for all generators to do that. We don't use it as a strategy beforehand, but we coordinate fully with the state of Texas, and they will ask every major operator to do that. So it's actually a response tool and not a tool to manage whether or not DE is online. We will respond if asked to respond in that way.
Has there been an ask?
There has not been an ask. There has not been an ask.
Do you see that happening today?
We do not see that happening today. We believe that what happens in the winter is usually the early morning aspects where you peak out. Now that the sun is coming out, it's going to get a bit warmer, and we believe that we won't have as much demand request on the system. We think we're okay. This is something very unusual happening.
This morning, your office sent out a press release saying that, hey, we really need people to step up and not use power because we could see these massive outages all over the state. Is that still a possibility in the next 48 hours?
Right now, we do not see, we actually see the weather getting tighter. The issue was between the hours of 7 and 9, that is when we were basically about to see the peak. And we started our outreach last night to the public, and we were trying to make sure between that period of time, between 7 and 9, we were covered.
So if that's not enough, if you don't see those rolling blackouts, why are we here today right now?
You're here today because we got the messages out before the 7 o'clock hour, and we wanted to make sure that people knew. And the message is that it is important to conserve, and we need to start getting ready for, again, this can happen at any point in time. Weather is predictable, but not always predictable in long term. So this whole response of being able to conserve and really get that message out is something that our entire state needs to become much more robust.
What do you
How much of a
need to do?
difference is conservation make this time? Was there, you say that there's a certain demand reduction that your messaging had an effect on, reducing that demand?
We have not been able to measure it exactly, but we know that we did not see as tremendous demand as if everybody came in at 8 o'clock, if there weren't staggered times, those kinds of things. I will tell you that we are assessing every experience that we have. And so, for example, it's probably not illogical to realize that when we had cold weather and we had wind, which sounds great, it seems like you can get wind power and everybody would be happy with that. But in reality, it was so cold, and the rain that came from it actually froze some of the wind turbines, and we have never really seen that happen in the ERCOT system. So our ability to notice those things happening, respond quickly, and start to outreach to the community to say, we have very significant trends and new developments happening. We want to make sure that people are aware and really remind you, because if we don't remind you about how important conservation is, then, we haven't really used all our tools to help you help us.
We have time for one more question.
So I just want to confirm, can you say what the peak was on CPS's end? Because you seem to make it sound like CPS actually hit a daily winter peak.
We will respond back there. Do we have it
I
now?
actually just have those numbers now.
Okay.
And when I close out, I'll repeat them for everyone to have.
We'll get it.